Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Assets and Infrastructure Standing Policy Committee for Thursday, July the 4th. We will begin with a roll call. Madam Clerk, if you would be so kind. Thank you.
Thank you. Today we have, for members of our committee, Deputy Mayor Carlson.
Present.
Councillor Palladino.
Present.
Councillor Parker, I believe, is online.
That's correct. Thank you.
And then we also have Acting Mayor Campbell.
That's me. Present.
And then members who are not on the committee that are attending today is Councillor Schmidt-Rempel, who is online, and Councillor Middleton Hope.
I'm sorry, who is that? No. Okay, never mind.
And I think you snuck in, Councillor Crowson.
The City of Lethbridge acknowledges that we are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains and pays respect to the Blackfoot people, past, present, and future, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. City of Lethbridge is also the home to the Métis Nation of Alberta. We'll begin with the adoption of the agenda from Deputy Mayor Carlson. Be it resolved that the agenda of the regular meeting of the Assets and Infrastructure Standing Policy Committee of July 4th, 2024 be adopted as presented. Deputy Mayor Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ask the clerk if there's any additions, changes.
There are not.
No? Any questions of my colleagues? Seeing none, I will call the vote.
Vote's been called. All in favor? It passes. From Councillor Palladino, be it resolved that the minutes of Assets and Infrastructure Standing Policy Committee held on May the 2nd, 2024 be approved, and that the Chair and City Clerk designate be authorized to sign the same. And further be it resolved that the Assets and Infrastructure Standing Policy Committee receive as information the 2024-0704 status of initiatives. Councillor Palladino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If there are no questions on the two items that were on the agenda, I would move, excuse me, I would move adoption.
Okay, call for the vote. All in favor? It's passed. All right, let us begin with presentations from Janet Gutzel, Senior Subdivision Planner on the Piers Outline Plan, Land Use Concept Amendment. Welcome, Ms. Gutzel. Did I say it correctly? Is it Gutzel? Okay. So, Ms. G. Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Assets and Infrastructure SBC members. I'm here to present on the proposed amendment to the Piers Outline Plan. The application before A&I SBC is to consider an amendment to the outline plan for the Piers neighborhood. The existing outline plan was originally approved by MPC in September 2008 and amended July 2017. Next slide, please. The Piers is located in West Lethbridge, as indicated by the red star on the map, and the amendment has been prepared by the engineering consulting company Associated Engineering on behalf of the developer Trilogy Real Estate Group. Next slide, please. The plan area contains approximately 63 hectares or 155 acres of undeveloped land lying south of Gary Station and west of the crossings in Gary Station. Next slide, please. The Piers Outline Plan Amendment has been prepared in accordance with the policies and objectives outlined in the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan, the Municipal Development Plan, and the West Lethbridge Phase 2 Area Structure Plan. The amendment complies with policies in all documents around housing types and neighborhood design. Next slide, please. The existing plan is shown on the left with the proposed land use concept on the right. You can see the pond has moved from the east side of the site to the west side and the road network updated accordingly. New design approaches in the updated Piers Outline Plan include a relocation of the storm pond to the west to take advantage of existing topography and adjusted catchment boundaries, consolidation of the park space to provide more usable programming opportunities, and an opportunity to add density. The amended plan has been reviewed by staff and all technical concerns have been addressed. Next slide, please. Our evaluation and analysis is on the slide above, and the details can be found in the land use concept document. Next slide, please. The neighborhood notification covered the area 60 meters around the outline plan, and 78 letters were sent out. Just to clarify, the dates shown on the slide are incorrect. The proposed amendment was advertised in the June 15th and 22nd editions of the Lethbridge Herald in order to provide residents the opportunity to speak at this meeting. I did not receive any communication from residents. The developer conducted an open house, which they can speak to. Next slide, please. Our conclusion and recommendation to the Assets and Infrastructure SBC is on the slide above. Thank you for your time.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. Do I have any questions? We do. I see. Okay. Okay. Certainly, public first. Are there any members of the public who would like to address this resolution that we'll have before us? Or is the applicant here and wants to make their own presentation as well? Okay. I see none. I'll go to questions. So, Councillor Middleton Hope.
This question would be to Ms. Gutzel, if you don't mind. In regards to the amendment that we're looking at here, have we considered that Aquitania Boulevard will now become the primary feeder route from the north end of the west side to the Whoop Up Drive area? So it's now the primary road.
Yes, that was always envisioned in the area structure plan.
Okay. Any impact whatsoever on the relocation of the park space to a more busier, I guess it'd be a more busy, not a more busier, a more busy throughfare?
Well, the main reason for the relocation was the storm pond. So the engineer is here to discuss any technical questions you might have. But by doing that, there was also an opportunity to consolidate some of the park space. So the two kind of just went hand in hand. And there are a lot of park spaces in the existing areas that are on less busy roadways.
Okay. And the size of the footprint is roughly the same?
Yes, like of the whole area, you mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
so-
the area that you're proposing to be moved.
Yes.
So the lake and the park.
So the only change was that in the review of this particular amendment, Transportation took a look at the width of the future Chinook Trail right-of-way.
Yeah.
And that allowed for a narrowing of the road right-of-way, and approximately 15 meters of that width was reallocated back into the neighborhood.
Okay.
So the boundary did increase a little bit.
And just one last question in regard to 14th Street on the west side. Where does it actually participate in either one of these diagrams?
Sorry, 14th Street?
Yeah, to the west of the YMCA. Is
Oh,
that-
30th? 30th Street?
30th Street, sorry, 30th Street, yeah.
So 30th Street has been closed. It no longer exists, but it would follow the east edge of the property line of the neighborhood. It was between the piers and the crossings.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to Ms. Gutzel, if I can, or the applicant. I'm looking at the changes, the medium density to sort of swing sites is the big density change or housing type change. Is there a change in the number of units that would be proposed under this amendment, or the swing sites sort of are medium density?
So the swing sites allow the developer some flexibility in terms of what they can do with those parcels in the future. So the density is not determined at this point.
So am I correct then in my assumption that we may be losing some density under this plan?
I believe the numbers in the report are done on the lowest density.
But they could be higher.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? We see, okay, Councillor Palladino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This basically replaces an outline plan that was prepared 5-6 years ago, right?
Yes.
And a technical question, I guess it is, our housekeeping question. Is it Triangle 3 Developments or is it Trilogy Group?
This developer is Trilogy.
Okay, the plan prepared by Associated Engineering says Triangle 3, figure 1. I was just wondering.
That may have just been a typo.
This one has a title block at the bottom. It would be your, I think your second page, or third page. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, so, sorry, I took that figure from a previous outline plan.
okay.
Yeah.
So that one's the one that says Triangle 3.
So, yeah, I believe the developer has just had a name change.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the information. A lot of this is theoretical at this point, right? Because nothing's been built here, and so there really weren't many people to talk to. The only thing that's sort of been approved for this area in the 2023 budget, the Holy Spirit Catholic School has been approved for this area. Any changes to that, or is that still a complete go, and we're not affecting their development at all?
No, it's a go.
Okay, so this is just really about, understanding the land better, moving the lake to a better site, increasing the densification on something that has nothing built on it yet. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions from my colleagues? I see none. Yeah, to me, this just looks like it's just what they're looking for is to make it better and easier and more better for the area. So I have a resolution from Councillor Parker. Be it resolved that the Assets and Infrastructure Standing Policy Committee recommends that Council amend the land use concept for the Piers Outline Plan as in Attachment 2 to replace the land use concept approved by Municipal Planning Commission on July the 11th, 2017. Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I cut out, I'm just driving to Regina, so I missed a bit of that, but just a few seconds of it. Overall, nothing big there. I appreciate the questions of my colleagues. I'm glad that we advertised it through process. And of course, we didn't hear much because not much is being developed or not many people live around the area. So I just called the question of the committee.
Anybody want have any debate, or do we just call the question? No debate. Question's been called. All in favor? That passes. Thank you very much. Up next, Mr. Michael Kelly, owner of MSK Developments with the University Lands Planning. Welcome, Mr. Kelly.
Good afternoon, committee members. I'm Michael Kelly with MSK Developments. I'm here today with members from WSP and Consulting, which is Sean Bravender and Justin McPherson. Also with me today are representatives from the University of Lethbridge, being Nancy Walker, VP of Finance and Administration, and TJ Hansen, Associate Vice President of Facilities. I wanted to clarify right off the bat, what we're here today is to inform, and it's to inform you that we're going to start the planning process for the 100-acre, or if we're bilingual, 40 hectares of surplus lands, which is commonly known as the South Campus at the University of Lethbridge. The U of L went through a process back in 2012 with their master plan, identifying what their needs would be in the future. And at that time, they'd indicated that these lands would be surplus to them. They're, like other universities, post-secondary institutions across Canada and North America, we've seen development happen on surplus lands that are not core not needed for their core activities. And through their process, the Board of Governors approved a business case to moving forward with the development, which was subsequently approved by the provincial government. And here we are today. Recently, on June 20th, we had an open house, which we promoted through Riverstone Facebook page, the bulletin board on University Drive, and socialized it internally with the university population as well. I'm not here to ask or present very long here, but we're definitely here to field questions from the committee. And I suspect that you'd like to hear what we heard at the open house. So thank you.
Any members of the public who want to make a presentation or ask a question? Anyone in the audience? No, I see none. All right, I will then open it up to my colleagues for questions. I'll, first off, just so I'm clear, you talk the university, they own the land, but has there been any, like, is this a transaction in terms of money, or is it just moved over to a business group who is going to develop it? It could just kind of be, if you can just clarify that.
Sure. What has been formed now through incorporation of the U of L Business Corporation. So the University Board of Governors has moved forward to form a legal entity, which is separate. They have their own policies and procedures. They will have their own board chair. They'll conduct their own meetings. There'll be up to 13 representatives on the board of directors, with 5 of them being from the university. The reason for that is that why the limit of the university representation is that this is an independent board making independent decisions to not be overly influenced by the U of L proper.
As I understand, there's no further advancement scholastically for the university in this case. Like they're not intending to add any more buildings or anything as part of the university?
Well, back to the 2012 master plan, it identified that the university would have grow to a cap of 12,000 students. Currently, we're sitting under 7,000 students. In the master plan, it identified a need for another 97,000 square meters of floor space. Since the master plan was done, the health sciences building has been constructed, which was approximately 38,000 square meters of space. We went through an exercise with the planning and facilities group at the university, and we've identified that there's still another 70 acres on the north part of the campus that can be utilized for further expansion to meet the core needs of the university.
Great.
What the core needs are,
yeah, sure.
If you don't mind. The core needs, and it's defined in the Post-Secondary Learning Act of Alberta, is academic, research, and student support.
Thank you. You probably want to stay there, I would imagine. Councillor Middleton Hope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few questions, Mr. Kelly. This is, can you give us some idea, or the public some idea? I did attend the open house, and it was very informative. Had an opportunity to speak with quite a number of people who have a sense that they will be in some way influenced, I won't use the word impacted, but influenced by the development here. Can you give us some sense of what the development might look like in the first piece? I guess it would be the westernmost portion of that area. The eastern portion, as I understand it, is not quite determined what that's going to look like. But so what does it look like in terms of a build? Are we looking at residences, or we're looking at, I'll just let you take it from there.
I'll take it from there.
Great.
So what we demonstrated at the open house is as a concept approach. This is by no means what's going to happen, because we don't know yet. As I stated it when we first started, we're just starting to do the planning. We've done a lot of due diligence with environmental, geotechnical, and some market analysis that helps us inform about the opportunities and constraints and what the market's willing to bear in this area of West Lethbridge. I anticipate, and this is my own personal, that there'll be an opportunity for commercial development, for a mixed-use development, some multifamily components as well as single-family, and of course, which is very near and dear to my heart, is some public realm space, being green space. A great community has all these components.
So There will not be any residents per se, as in university residents.
The university, the north part of the campus, has at least another 15 acres in and around its existing student housing area that will expand, gives the opportunity for them to expand more student housing needs. Any housing that will, or multifamily housing that would occur on the South Campus would not be owned and operated by the U of L, but it may be owned and operated by the corporation and or other private investors.
Thank you. One other question in regards to the proposed indoor facility that will be built. Can you give us some sense of where that placement might be?
Are you referring to the multi-sport sports dome?
Yep.
As the map here, or the figure here indicates, it will be north of the community stadium. It's the gray highlighted area adjacent to University Drive.
The square piece?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, anything else that you want to tell us in regards to this particular project?
I could tell you a lot of things.
I bet you could.
That's too big a question.
In terms of the development of this property, this then becomes taxable land, is that correct?
That is correct. It will pay municipal taxes just like any other development. It will also pay off-site levy fees just like any other development as well.
And I think you indicated that it was Ms. Walker was here as well?
Correct.
Okay. I wonder if we could just have a moment with Ms. Walker as well. What do you hope to see from this project?
From the self-development. The sole purpose of creating this corporation is so that it will eventually have enough revenue, and it will feed that revenue back into the institution, where we will spend it on academic and research functions. So the core of the university. So the university is the sole shareholder as well as the beneficiary.
Well, as I've been cut off, it looks like it's time for Councillor Carlson.
Councillor Deputy Mayor Carlson.
Councillor Deputy Mayor, I like it. I like it. Thank you. Actually, most of my questions have been asked and answered during the presentation. One of the ones I was struggling with was when Mr. Kelly said this is surplus land. My question was for how long, but I think the question was answered that there's still, was it 70 acres to the north that is still developable for core functions?
Yeah, there's still 70 acres. It's not in big clumps. Anything from 30 to 15 down to 2-acre blocks that are bits and pieces around the North Campus. I was asked a lot of questions about student housing expansion. Like I said earlier, there's at least another 15 acres around the existing residence area for more housing.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any constraints on the land or in our land use bylaw? Again, I heard complaints years ago, I've been here far too long, years ago about height restrictions, and especially with the university, and I just don't know if Mr. Erickson, when he designed it, it was nice and low and flat and supposed to look like a ship in the ways. Are there any constraints?
The North Campus in their 2012 master plan identified that they would work towards 3-story developments. But that's them imposing things on themselves. That has nothing to do with the land use bylaw.
So it is all self-imposed to keep with the vision,
yes.
I guess. Excellent. Thank you for that. I'm not bilingual. How many meters squared in 70 acres? You don't have to answer that.
Can I go on? You asked me about constraints. Through our due diligence processes, the geotechnical and the environmental and wildlife management items that we discussed at the public house or were asked about, these reports are being generated, so they'll give us guidance, and we'll share that with the administration as we move through the process. And there'll be ample opportunity as we go through the formal process of the outline plan for this committee and City Council to ask those, and we'd be more than happy to provide that information at that time.
I know there are some constraints, geotechnical constraints on the site. Always take into account the weight of the books in the library.
Yes.
That's just,
If I can further to that, Chair, we're on the edge of the coulee. We know that this is set back. There's been a study that was done by the city back in 2000, I think it was. We have access to that material. Part of our due diligence is to reestablish where that setback line should be. There is badger dens there. There's rattlesnake dens. There's an archaeological site that you may see as a constraint, but it might be an opportunity to celebrate the culture of Southern Alberta. There's a lot of factors to take into account when planning this area.
Thank you. Councillor Crowson.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to start with a question for you, Mr. Sanchez, because things we hear from the community. Can you confirm that this developer will be treated like any other developer, that will be expecting same plans, same permits, et cetera, and that they will just be a developer working in the city, even if it is the university that's behind it?
Yes, thanks for the question. I can confirm we have already had discussion with Mr. Kelly and the university regarding this, and in fact, he already mentioned there will be offsite levies, there will be the same treatment, same principle that we have for any developer within the city. They will be doing the process. The reason why they're here is starting that process to inform council, and they're gonna go through the outline plan process, engagement. When we're ready to go into the details again, they're gonna go through the formal approvals. So offsite levies will be charged like any other development, and this is something that we definitely see as a good opportunity for the community, like whatever other development we see across the city, and we will be treating them the same way than any other developer, for sure.
Thank you very much. A question for you, Mr. Kelly. Anytime a piece of land has been open for quite a bit of time, the neighbors start to think of it as theirs. How will you be working with Riverstone on some of those concerns of theirs about, the development in that sense?
I'm not as good looking as Mr. Kelly, but I can
Thank
start
you.
that answer. Appreciate the vote of confidence there. So the initial open house, as we explained to the community members that came out, it was a pre-planning stage, and typically through the municipal guidelines and bylaws and requirements for developments like this, there is a set process. And what we did on the 20th was well in advance of that process. So when we come back as part of that process, they'll be notified just like they will be in any other development within the city. The current methods that we use that we'll add on to, but we had the big electronic sign at the university. It was posted there for 10 days prior, as well as we were able to get it on the Riverstone Facebook site. But recognizing that's not the only way, of course, there'll be a mill drop, and we'll look at other opportunities to ensure that we can include the community. We did receive a lot of feedback from the community. Two of my favorite quotes on the actual same flip sheet is, and my first quote is, "Such bad ideas, we don't need this." Followed by the second quote is, "Great idea, about time, Westside needs this." So as you can see, there is a full spectrum of interest and even understanding of the project. We also heard during that process, the engagement session, that folks were concerned that it was already planned, concerned that the plan wasn't specific enough. And as we were trying to help them understand and inform them as to where we're at in that arc of the process of the development. So we look forward to working with them, and we anticipate coming back in September to do so.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, may I ask my third question? So the third question, and thank you for bringing it up. There is an archaeological site there. You are right. You have hibernacula. You have a lot of things there that the public are concerned about, from naturalists to archaeologists, et cetera. What's your plan for working with those groups, with the province, with the archaeological site, and ensuring those places are protected?
Mr. Kelly's already referred to the different studies that have been conducted and are being conducted. So they'll be science-based. The community input and stakeholder expertise that is offered will certainly take that in consideration. I think it is fair to say, and if I may stretch a little bit here, perhaps where I should be speaking to, but that is the development here is meant to reflect best practices in every way, shape, and form. Mr. Kelly has already alluded to the fact that what's near and dear to his heart is the green space. So things of that nature. This isn't designed to maximize profit with high yields and high density. It's meant to be supplementary to the university, to be compatible with the adjacent neighborhood, and for it to be viable, of course, but also to be a project that is on par, with what the university has already done with their prior developments.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, Mr. Kelly, for bringing this forward. This is great information, and the community engagement session certainly shed some light on concerns that the community might have. A couple of the questions that I've received that since that community engagement session, and this one I will direct to Mr. Sanchez. We're hearing concerns with regards to increased traffic on University Drive. Mr. Sanchez, can you help me understand what we're doing with this development and what it means for traffic impacts on that major roadway and how we're going to mitigate that?
Thanks for the question. That will be part of the work when we do the outline plan. Our team will be working with the university team in order to figure there are a few constraints when it comes to transportations and distances that we need to maintain, but that is part of the detailed design that will be done over the next few months. Generally speaking, some of the entrances are already established, and there are opportunities to improve some of those. And we are going to try to have the TAAs in place. Darwin's, Mr. Jules' team is heavily involved, and all the information and the plans that will be created will be part of the public session and the approval process for that outline plan.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. And then I believe I saw Ms. Walker there because I have a question for her.
Hi.
Hi there. Thank you very much, Ms. Walker, and thank you for coming to answer a few questions for the university end of things. One of the concerns I've received from some students is that this is going to cause an increase in tuition costs. Can you speak a little bit to that? You've already covered about how this will cover core services, but are students going to be seeing an increased tuition costs as a result of this development?
No, the quick answer is absolutely not. This is a completely separate corporation from the university, and it needs to be self-sufficient on its own, so we will not be increasing student fees as a result.
Thank you very much. That's all the questions I had. Thank you, Chair.
Have any more questions from my colleagues? I see none. Thank you very much for the information that you received for us here today. And I have a resolution from Deputy Mayor Carlson. Be it resolved that the Assets and Infrastructure Standing Policy Committee recommend that Council receive the report for information. Councillor or Deputy Mayor Carlson.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for the presentation and information. I look forward to the next open house, I believe this September, and I saw in the report that work may begin as early as a year from today. So that's very exciting news. I look forward to see what happens. Thank you.
Yeah, and this is just the start. I mean, so that people can see that this is the plan. This is not what's going to happen necessarily, but this is the beginning of it. And so we look forward to a full report and seeing where this is all going to go to. So with that, any other debate or questions? I see none. Oh, sorry, John. All right. Question's been called. All in favor? All right. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Sorry, Councillor.
I'll wait till the end on the next. Shall I?
Coming up next, we have a submission from Crystal Scheit from the Urban Revitalization, read the proposed Pocket Park donation, the Chinese National League Society, to the city of Lethbridge. First off, do we have any questions from members of the gallery here today regarding this? Nope. And do we have any questions from my colleagues here? We will begin with, Deputy Mayor Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of questions on this. Interesting. Is there any? We saw the maintenance and life cycle costs provided, which I really appreciate, because it's always. It's nice to get things, but you've got to realize what it's going to cost you down the line. Are there any terms that are being proposed with this? Years it has to be kept as a park, or is it in perpetuity? How do things like that happen? Like if the downtown suddenly undergoes a revitalization and we need the space, what are the terms, is my question.
So one of the terms in the recommendation is an execution of a land donation agreement. So those are all things that we would be taking into consideration. In speaking with the group and with our solicitor's office, there's a few different options that we could look at. I know that the group themselves would like some sort of security that if this investment is made into the space and that they are to donate it to the city, that there would be some sort of commemoration to that site for their group. And I might ask Adam, as he's here today, him and I had lengthy discussions over this on a couple different options of which could make the group feel comfortable with the terms in the agreement and also allow the city some flexibility with the property once it's donated.
Yeah, and there are some constraints that we can place on title to the property, such as rights of first refusal, buyback options. They do have a lifespan typically, but it can be as long or as short as we wish. The problem that we usually find with rights of first refusal is that 25 years later, no one remembers that they're there. But it is something that we're alive to and working on.
Okay, thank you for that. Question if we've got the Chinese National League Society folks here. Thank you. I don't know if you can answer this question or not for me, because I love the thought of this. What is, because it looks like the CNLS is looking at donating it, but yet still doing the development of the park, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, is from my reading of it. I may have been wrong. Why donate to the city? Why not just hang on to it? And that way it's under your control forever and ever, or wanted.
Some of our oldest members are in their 90s, and we would like to have something done so that they can see it before anything happens, because the Chinese National League were the first group of Chinese in Lethbridge. And that's where, because it was all men, that's where they also lived and learned English and...
Point of my question was, why donate to the city? Why not just keep it under your own control?
It's the ongoing maintenance.
And taxes, probably.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Crowson.
Thank you, Chair. We've got a lot of, contingencies built into this. There's 4 things there that we have to actually see. So when would the city, if this moves forward, when would the city actually get it? Would we not receive it till 2028? Is that when it would actually be donated? Or when, I'm just not sure how to read all those contingencies and when things would legally happen. And so exactly what we're agreeing to if we agree to this.
So the donation wouldn't happen until the project was actually completed. And so that's totally contingent upon receiving these grants. And so there's been one grant approval already received. We have another one that we have an expression of interest in on right now, and we're waiting to hear if we've kind of made it to that next step. And we've been helping the CNLS group apply for those grants. And then we're looking at, we were unsuccessful in the Co-op Community Spaces grant, but we have another grant that we would like to partner with the other two, if successful, to see this built. And so it's a bit of a partnership between Urban Revitalization and the CNLS group. So I've been working with them, and it was myself and my group that hired the consulting engineer to actually come up with the plans and the cost estimate to see what this could look like. And that was derived from some work that was done a few years ago with some university students. So there was a project that was done with a group from the city and the university, and there was about 3 different groups of students that came up with their own concept plans. They engaged with the group and developed what they thought that the site could look like. So we took that work, we brought back some of the students, and we had another engagement session with the group and the students, and we had our engineering consultant come up with the concept that kind of took features from each of those designs that the students had completed, and that's the design that you see here. So essentially, the timing really does depend on if they're successful in being awarded the grants and can see this being built. And at that time, that would be when we would look at the donation. Now, prior to anything actually being constructed, we would want to sort out the conditions of that land agreement and the donation and anything like that, because as they mentioned, they don't have the funds to be able to maintain this once it's built. And so that's the reason for the donation to the city, is it would add another park space into our downtown and really revitalize the area and also maintain their heritage. And so that's, yeah, something that we've been working on together, but it's challenging to lay out in a format where, like, we wanted to show you what the conditions would be, but leave the date flexible enough to allow for them to actually find the grants to match and actually get this built before it's donated.
Right. So the earliest this would, if this all moves forward, everything is successful, the earliest this would hit our operating budget is 2028, based on what we have in front of us.
Yeah, so if we were to say secure grant funding and this was constructed next year, we still would have a 2-year warranty period under the contractor to maintain the space. And so because of that, we wouldn't see the impacts until the next operating cycle.
And this would be into the Parks Department?
Yes, it would.
So Ms. Kleisinger, knowing that, you know, how long this would take and everything, is the Parks Department on board with this? Is the Parks Department able to, you know, make sure their budgeting is in place, et cetera, with the time frame that you have?
I'm going to pass that question on to Mr. Somerville, who's in the audience, who can answer that, please.
So yes, the Parks Department has been working closely with the Downtown Revitalization Group, and we've been involved with the concept to this stage. And in terms of the maintenance and life cycle costs and all that factors, we've applied our current asset system and that information that's there, and that helped us to realize that yes, this fits within our existing systems.
I did appreciate seeing, you know, the interpretive science every 10 years. I mean, that's if you buy the best. Sometimes it craps out on you within 5 years. So I did appreciate seeing that sort of thing in there, because there is a lot of money to go into keeping those up to date. So do you think you have put in a sustainable, ongoing operating budget?
I think for a lot of the elements of this particular development, there could be some higher levels that are still unknown at this time. Thinking of like the entry feature, some of the lighting, things that we don't typically have in other park developments at this time. But for the standard elements, seating, furniture, hardscapes, even our tree maintenance and things like that, like all that is pretty clear in terms of what we can expect for costs. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. And is there anyone else in the queue, or may I ask a question?
I'm going to jump out.
I was just going to ask one quick question while you're here. Just in terms of going for the grant, are you noticing any kind of impediments with what you have and what the prospective grant donators are saying? This doesn't fit for us. Like, are there anything? Is there anything that it's just something that's just not working for you? It's kind of a broad question.
No, so far, anything that we've applied for, it really does fit the parameters. The Co-op Community Spaces Grant, they received an extremely high number of applicants this year, which is why we weren't successful in receiving that grant. We've received it for other projects in the past, and it did fit within the parameters, but there was a significant amount of applicants and not near the dollars to contribute to all of the projects that were applied for that this year, which is why we're seeking out other grant funding. The grant that was approved is contingent upon other matching funding, and typically that funding matches with one of the other ones that we've already submitted an expression of interest for. Those two typically go hand in hand and often match together, and so it's just finding that third grant, which we think we may have done. It's we're just kind of in early stages of getting an application put together to submit for that, but wanted to leave enough time so that if that didn't fall through, there might be another grant opportunity that could match up with the others.
So confidence is fairly high to getting all the money required. Very good.
Yeah.
Back to you, Councillor Croson.
Thank you. My question is for members of the Chinese National League Society. And I know Councillor Carlson, or Deputy Mayor Carlson's were going in this direction, but are you satisfied? Is this what you want? I mean, I know we would love to go back in time and actually have the building and go from there. But with not having the building, will this make sure that that history is maintained? Will this make sure that the memory is there? Is this enough?
Yes, because we can't have a building there. And I was surprised, like the students at the university didn't know there was a Chinatown and didn't know the history of it. So what we have proposed and what the students did, we thought would really show the history of the Chinese in Lethbridge.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Scheik.
Questions from my colleagues? I see none. Thank you very much for the presentation. I have a resolution from Councillor Palladino. Be it resolved that the Assets and Infrastructure Standing Policy Committee recommends that Council accept the donation of 309 2nd Avenue South contingent upon the Chinese National League Society securing adequate grant funding to complete the project. 2, the results of the environmental assessment are satisfactory of the city manager. 3, execution of a land donation agreement in a form satisfactory to the city manager. And 4, the park being constructed as depicted in attachment 1 prior to January 1st, 2028. Councillor Palladino.
Had a good discussion over this project. It's a very little cost to the city itself in maintenance, and I'll call for the question.
Any other comments? Any questions? See none. Vote's been called. All in favor? That passes. There. And that is the meeting. Thank you very much. We're adjourned. Oh.
Yeah, we write it down.
Oh, okay.